I have three children. I've been in practice about 18 or 19 years. My kids are aged 19, 17, and 5. So quite a wide age gap. I had my first one when I first started practice, and the youngest one is the same age as the firm that I started. So different stages in life.
I've been in practice in the legal field for about 11 years now. And I've had my firm, Umpire Legal, for 6 years. We're in the 6th year now. I have 2 children. One is 4 and one is 1.5. And I have another one on the way.
I'm actually only in my 4th year in practice. It still feels like I'm quite new to practice, even though I've been doing it for 4 years. And I'm also new to motherhood. I have a 7-month-old turning 8 months.
Yes. So there were problems having children at such an early stage of practice. It was actually a cause of concern for quite a lot of employers. Whether fairly or unfairly, I'm still undecided, but I was specifically asked how I would be able to cope with both work and a very young child. So there was some disadvantage at the start of the career. So if at all, I mean, I would give advice not to have children so early on. Yes. And also I think having both worked for people and also started my own firm, it's much easier when you have the flexibility of time, because, you know, children fall ill very unexpectedly, right? And not every employer is very understanding when you need to take time off work or need to even just spend a day with your kids. Like, that's not something you can just too easily take time off, whereas you have that luxury if it's your own firm. So that was what I wanted to do with my youngest child, knowing that it would be definitely my last one. So I wanted to have that whole range of like being, you know, seeing her grow. So it was almost seamless, well, to also decide to start my own firm when I had the youngest one.
I agree with Amy on the part where if you have your own firm, you have the flexibility of balancing motherhood and work. But at the same time, I can tell you that I have not had maternity leave. I have literally been working on the day I gave birth and after the day I gave birth. And of course, I have been trying to build a team which can operate without me fully being present. And Amy is very true in the aspect that, you know, when we got sick earlier this year with COVID, I was completely out with morning sickness and COVID and a sick child. So I had 2 weeks where I was pretty much offline, with the exception of dealing with my staff, who was constantly messaging me and calling me to ask things, you know, to consult with me on various clients and matters. So it's great to have that flexibility when you have your own legal firm, but at the same time, you have to be prepared that there's no holiday as such, because even if you can enjoy a day off with your kids, you can take them to the park, to the zoo, but you come home and you still have to catch up. Whereas everyone else is just going to switch off by 6 p.m. and not bother with anything unless there's an urgent matter to attend to, of course.
I think there has to be an understanding on behalf of both the employer and the employee that flexibility necessarily entails trust. So I don't think this is an arrangement that is going to be possible in every scenario. For me, another reason why I think it worked is that I've been with the same firm for 4 years. And I have a close working relationship with my bosses. My bosses trust me. So in that sense, I'm really lucky that there was a flexible arrangement that could have been extended to me and that we could have agreed on.
Just for your information, all of the associates in my firm are women. And they are women in their prime years where, you know, they're getting engaged, they're getting married. And I know that at some point they're going to have children. And I'm very much prepared for that, because if they wish to stay on with the firm, I'm more than happy to accommodate that, as long as we have an understanding like Isabel has with the company, because it's so important for the employee to understand their part of the responsibility towards the company as well. So it doesn't matter whether you're the employer or the employee. If you have that sense of responsibility towards the work that you've been assigned, then of course you will accommodate it with young children, with, anything that needs to, leave days that need to come up suddenly and things like that. And then I, in fact, thought that I would have one little room in my office as a nursery as well, in case, mothers need to nurse or, pump, or just if they need to bring their kids in once in a while, I would try and accommodate that.
In terms of childcare, what did you respectively do actually? Because like I mentioned, we had to make the decision to send Zain to infant care even though he's so young. I know that's maybe increasingly common nowadays, but I'm still grappling with that decision. Sending him in every day is really tough.
Definitely help us. Parents are good, but only if they want to do it. But otherwise, yeah, we don't really have a choice unless you've got the, you eventually, if you set up your own firm, then yes, there is that flexibility again. But at the same time, we also need to work, right? We can't be that's not the point. What we want is to have both. So there needs to be a period of time when the child goes to school. I would say, Isabel, I definitely understood that it's that part where you feel a little bit guilty, like you're not spending enough time with your child and you're like maybe missing important things. That kind of does go away. And you realize that there are so many other things, and it's actually making that time each day and spending that quality time rather than, once again, it's quality over quantity, I would say.
My main question is, when do you think it gets better or gets easier, or does it never get easier?
I think that question should be for Amy, because I'm still not there yet.
I would say probably it has to be until they're about maybe about 4 or 5. When the point is when they can actually, play on their own, right? Otherwise, once you reach that's pretty all right. And you should, I think this is an important thing to teach them to read quite early on, because I find that once that happens, they can definitely entertain themselves for a longer periods of time. Otherwise, someone's always got to be there, or you've got to be like a games mistress, right? Well, my daughter still comes to me and says, what interesting thing can we do today? It's like, okay, go entertain yourself. But there is this expectation that I have to plan interesting things for her. Yeah.
When you talk about quality time, actually, what is that like for both of you? Is it like you segment off one part of the day that is protected time, or is it that when work is lighter, then that's when you pick your child up early or you come back home from work?
All of it, whatever works. But the most important thing is the quality time that you spend with your child would be the full-on attention that you give to them. It's not just, trying to give more time of your day to the child, but it's putting your phone away, or as much as you can, and not bothering about the things that you need to do, but focusing on your child and their development and teaching them what you want them to learn from you. So that would be what I would.
Sorry, just adding on to that, I would say that sometimes I do find myself maybe being annoyed with my daughter, for instance, she's being particularly, needy and so on, and then you get angry, or you're thinking about work and you can't really focus on the child. So I think that's what we mean by just being able to be there at that moment and just appreciating the time you have with your son at that moment in time. So what I actually do is I will pick her up from school. She's in kindergarten now, at about 5-ish. So that's a bit of an early day, but if I can, I'll try to do that. And then I bring her to the playground, and then it's it's kind of like it's easy because she's old enough to run around on her own, but she appreciates it. She'll come up to me and talk to me a little bit, and she runs out and plays with her friends. And then after that, I mean, bedtime and storytelling and all that is pretty special, which we try to do every day.
I agree with Amy, because routine is so important. If you have a routine with your child, they know what you're going to do with them. You have your playtime, your bedtime, your mealtime, story time, all of it. Kids love routines, so they will know that they want their mommy for particular things, and they don't want anyone else.
Yeah, I think the only want mommy is a phase that I'm going through right now, even as I'm trying to train my hubby, and he is quite good, I would say. I've been making an active effort to make sure that certain duties are delegated to him. But even as I say that, I mean, I use the word delegation, and it made me think about what Amy said, that why is it that we have this thinking that automatically certain duties fall on the mom's shoulders. Yeah, but I think for you personally, do you think, how has that changed as your child has gotten older? Is it that the dad has taken on a more active role, or if not, who else is the one that's really supporting you?
Well, my husband loves to play with the kids. And they love playing with him, but it only lasts maybe 15-20 minutes, and then he goes off to do what he needs to do. But luckily we have helpers here, and then my parents are here, my in-laws are here. They don't live too far away from us, so whenever I need them to just help take care of the kids, then they're very proactive.
But my husband, it actually sorry,
no, just basically the grandmas, and then we have the helpers.
Okay, I was just going to say, with my husband, it actually has been a series of me talking to him and telling him that you need to do your part. And fortunately he'll accept that, yes, he does need to do more, because it can't all just fall on me. And I think for some of us, we'll feel again guilt that this is our job, we should do it. But I tell myself, and I think this is true, that we also need our own time, right? And so we'll work something out. Like, he'll take the youngest one out on his own, and then he'll say, like, just go out and do your thing, or take a bath, that kind of thing. So that's something that you need to organize for yourself.
Yeah. So I'm lucky if I get him to do one drop off a week, or just to school for my older one, because then it gives me a little bit of extra time in the morning to just relax and spend more time with the little one before I go to work.
Yeah, I think time to myself is something that I really want to cultivate. I've stopped exercising ever since I gave birth. So it's just, some days I'm just like, okay, I need to go for a run.
Sometimes I'm on the treadmill at 9 p.m. because I feel the need to work out, but then I have to wait for the kids to go to bed, and then my eyes are drooping down while I'm trying to do a walk on the treadmill. Personally, I feel like I found a balance now. So I actually don't work till very late in the evening. I usually leave the office a little bit earlier than most people, and so that I can have the evenings with my children, and then I continue working after they go to bed, if there's anything to catch up on. So for now, I feel like I have a good balance.
I'm trying to sleep train my son, but so far I've been failing at it. So right now,
don't worry about it.
It's like he sleeps between my husband and I, and he can't seem to sleep properly unless he's touching one of us. So,
I used to have my older one in a cot in a different room with a baby monitor, and every night she would cry and call out, and of course, me being the mom, I'd have to be the one to go. So, and then I'd be a zombie in the mornings. So I realized at that point that, she just wants people around. She just wants us around. So then I would carry her to the middle of the bed, and she slept so much better. And whatever works. So just as long as you get to sleep.
Yeah, before I gave birth, I spent a lot of my time reading about how to sleep train, how to make sure that, the moment I put him down, he'll go down to sleep. It's just not possible. And I tried to put him on a schedule so that I know when I can pump, when I can feed him. Yeah, it's not really working out.
Yeah, I think you have to be kind to yourself. Not every child likes to be on a fixed schedule. So the good thing is she can fall asleep in her own room, but almost without fail every night, ranging from 12 to 5 a.m., she will somehow creep into our bed. And it actually does bother me because I'm quite a light sleeper, so I don't like, I'll wake up each time she comes in, but the father says, it's not long before she'll stop doing that and she won't want to do that anymore. And it's like, okay, sure. I think it's very important to have conversations, very candid and honest conversations with your employers, to talk about coming back to work and what the arrangements would be like. And you can also, from there, understand what their expectations are going to be. And it might be the case that both of you are not aligned on this, in which case it's better to have that understanding in the beginning rather than when you're like struggling with a child already, right? And with an employer that's not understanding. Then secondly, it's also, I think, important to, this actually just is a bit of my pet grouse, to have that conversation with your partner with respect to expectations as to responsibilities, as in like, we are having a child, so I expect you to also be equally responsible, and it's not just on my shoulders, and also to explain, if it's not already understood, that you also have a career that you want and you have aspirations as well, and it's not supposed to take a back seat just because you have a child.
What I would say is, like everything else in life, if you have a goal, try and create a plan for it. And in the same way, before you have a child, before you have the first child, try and set up a plan similar to what Amy said in terms of your employment arrangement, in terms of your childcare arrangements, and in terms of responsibilities with your partner.